His hands were already under my shirt when he turned the lock. The hallway light vanished as the door clicked shut behind him. I didn't move. I didn't ask what he was doing. His body pressed into mine as we backed into the shadows, breath caught somewhere between urgency and fear. His mouth found my neck. His palms were flat against my back, sliding upward. My shoulder blades arched toward him without meaning to. I heard the rustle of the throw blanket as we stumbled onto the couch. His knee nudged between mine. I didn't pull away. I let it all happen. The couch creaked softly beneath us. The air smelled faintly of cedar and his cologne, familiar, intoxicating, dangerous. His fingers found the button of my jeans. I closed my eyes. I didn't stop him. I didn't speak. My hand covered his, not to stop it, just to feel it. It wasn't a decision. It was a moment. And I didn't stop it. He pulled the denim low. His hands were slow, slightly trembling. His mouth reached my collarbone, warm and steady, like he knew the path, like he'd imagined it before. I swallowed hard, feeling my skin respond before my mind could catch up. My breath grew shallow. I was still wearing the tank top I cleaned in earlier. No makeup, no perfume. I hadn't meant to be seen, but he looked at me like I was the only thing in the room. Like nothing else existed but this one irreversible moment. I didn't push him away. I leaned into him. He kissed me hard, then soft, like he was trying to memorize the difference. My hands were on his back. I felt the tension in his shoulders. I felt the guilt tighten my spine. And still, I didn't stop it. He whispered my name once. I said nothing. I let him keep going. When it was over, we stayed still, breathing, chest to chest. Nothing moved. My back was against the armrest, legs tangled around his waist, his hand resting on my thigh. I couldn't speak. I didn't want to. There were no words that wouldn't make it worse. I'm 38. Married. 2 kids. PTA meetings. Grocery lists taped to the fridge. A husband who snores and tells me I'm beautiful even when I haven't showered. I never imagined I'd become the woman who let another man that close while her family slept upstairs. He's my husband's cousin. Lives 2 blocks down. Comes over to fix things. Grills burgers with us on the 4th of July. He helped me replace a flat tire last month. We shared a drink, sitting in the driveway, talking about nothing. That was the first time I noticed how close we'd gotten. What would you do if the one person you were supposed to protect became the one you secretly craved? I don't remember standing up. I don't remember pulling my shirt back down. I only remember the silence after he left. The way the closed door looked heavier now. I sat on the edge of the couch, skin still warm, throat dry. I didn't cry. I didn't feel relief. Just wait. I walked upstairs barefoot. My husband was asleep, one arm flung over the empty side of the bed. I slipped in beside him. He stirred, pulled me close. I turned my face away. I couldn't let him see me. I couldn't let him smell the truth still on my skin. Some secrets don't scream. They whisper, quietly, constantly. If yours still haunts you, you're not alone. Like and subscribe. Someone else out there needs this truth, too. The coffee pot beeped at 6:45, just like always. I stood in a sweatshirt and pajama pants, watching the dark liquid pour. I wasn't thinking about coffee. I was thinking about the den. The sound the couch made when he shifted his weight. How still I had been beneath him. I poured the mug halfway. No cream. I didn't drink it. I just held it with both hands, like the heat might pull me back into my body. The kitchen smelled like toast and dish soap, but all I could taste was him. My husband walked in, scratching the back of his neck, eyes still puffy with sleep. He kissed my cheek. I didn't flinch. I didn't lean in. I just let it happen. I handed him the mug, like always. Thanks, babe, he said, smiling. I smiled back. That part was easy. We talked about our son's project, his meeting at work, what I planned to make for dinner. I nodded. I said all the right things. My mouth moved, but my mind was still with that door. The way it had closed. The way his eyes had changed in the dark. My husband left by 8, same as every day. I heard his car pull away and disappear down the street. I didn't sit. I didn't turn off the coffee pot. I walked into the den and stood in the doorway. The throw blanket was still bunched on the cushion. I didn't touch it. The silence felt heavier than usual. I looked at the armrest where his hands had been, the rug where he'd braced his foot. Every part of that room felt louder now. I reached out once, then stopped halfway. I couldn't let myself touch it. Not yet. He was supposed to be family, not by blood, but by everything that matters. My husband trusted him. I trusted him. And maybe that's why it happened. The trust. The ease. He could be in our house, and no one questioned it. Not even me. The first time I noticed him was when he fixed the screen door. I was wearing shorts and an old shirt. Nothing special. But he looked at me like I hadn't faded into the background of someone else's life. Like I was still visible. That was 3 months ago. He started dropping by more often. Always with a reason. A tool he left behind. Something for the kids. Something for the garage. But sometimes he came with nothing. Just stood in the doorway and talked. I never asked why. I wanted to believe I didn't know what I was doing. But I did. I didn't flirt. I didn't plan it. But I didn't stop it either. I wore softer clothes. Left the lights dimmer. Let the pauses stretch longer. The air grew warmer and I didn't stop it. The first real moment was 2 weeks ago. He stayed to help carry something into the attic. My husband was still at work. We brushed shoulders in the stairwell. I froze. He didn't move. I felt the heat before he even touched me. Sorry, he said, too softly. I didn't respond. I lay awake that night, hating how badly I wanted to feel that again. And I knew then it was going to happen. Not because I planned it, but because I wasn't going to stop it. That morning, I vacuumed the living room twice. Folded laundry that didn't need folding. Checked the lock twice. I couldn't sit still. My body remembered too much. I walked by the den again. Still didn't touch the couch. At noon, my phone buzzed. Kyle, did I hurt you? I stared at the screen. My heart stopped, then started again. Faster, panicked. I typed, then deleted. Typed again. Me, no. Him, you didn't say anything. I didn't answer. I didn't know how. I threw my phone on the counter and walked away. But it stayed with me. Every word, every breath, every place his hands had been, every inch of me that wanted them there. I was wearing leggings and an old hoodie, hair tied up, hose in hand, water spilling over the pots and onto the pavement. I didn't hear his truck until it was too late to pretend I hadn't. He got out slowly. No smile. No wave. Just walked up the side path like always. He stopped a few feet from me. I didn't look at him at first. I focused on the plants. On the sound of the water. Hey, he said, just that. Casual. Friendly. But the sound of his voice still made something in my stomach tighten. I turned off the hose. You shouldn't be here, I said. My voice was steady. My hands were wet and cold. I gripped the nozzle tighter. He looked down, then back up. I forgot my socket set in the garage. He didn't move. Neither did I. We stood in the quiet like the air between us was listening. He asked if he could grab it. I nodded. He didn't wait for me to lead him. He walked ahead like he still belonged. I followed, a few steps behind. My heartbeat was loud in my throat. He opened the garage and bent down to the shelf like nothing had changed. I stood by the door, watching him move. Watching his hand reach for the box. Watching the way his back shifted under his shirt. I hated that I was watching. I hated more that I didn't look away. He turned to hand it to me. I didn't take it. You could have asked him, I said. You didn't have to come here. His jaw clenched. He set the box down on the workbench. I didn't want to ask him. He took a step closer. I stepped back. We stood there for a moment, like something was still possible. Like we hadn't already crossed a line. Then I turned to go. You think about it too, he said. I froze with my back to him. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Later that evening, I got a text. Kyle, I can't stop thinking about it. I didn't reply. I turned my phone face down and walked away. But I checked it again 5 minutes later. And again. And again. The next time I saw him was at the store. He was in the parking lot, loading water into his trunk. He looked up and saw me. We both froze. My hands curled into fists. I turned away too fast, but not before I saw his face change. That night, I dreamed about the door closing again. The exact sound. The exact pause before he turned to me. I woke up sweating, heart racing. My husband was asleep beside me. I looked at him in the dark and felt the distance like a wall. We hadn't touched since. I hadn't kissed him with intent in weeks. I was just going through the motions. Part of me wondered if he noticed or if he just accepted it, the way long marriages sometimes do, quietly, without question. I sat on the edge of the bed and scrolled back to that message. I typed, "Me neither." Then deleted it. I closed the app, opened it again. My finger hovered. I put the phone down and went to shower. I stayed under the water longer than usual. The next day, I didn't check the garage. I didn't look out the window. But I still noticed the absence. I noticed everything that wasn't him. Every corner of my life that he had touched without permission echoed in my mind, and how I had allowed it. That afternoon, I sat on the same couch. I stared at the ceiling, light filtering through the blinds. I replayed every second. The weight of his body. The way I didn't move. The sound of my breath catching in my throat. How I never once said no. I wanted to forget. But I also wanted more. And that truth sat in my chest like something I had swallowed whole, something I couldn't get rid of. The hallway was dark when I passed him. I was carrying towels to the linen closet. He had just come from the kitchen. We didn't speak. He stepped aside so I could pass, and our shoulders touched. He didn't move. Neither did I. I kept walking slowly. I didn't hear his footsteps, but I felt him behind me, quiet, careful, close. When I reached the guest room, I paused in the doorway, my hand resting on the knob. I didn't look back. I opened the door just wide enough to slip in. I didn't close it fully. I stood in the dark room, surrounded by silence. I could hear the faint buzz of a light upstairs, the creak of the floor, and then the door eased shut behind me. Not slammed, not locked, just gently closed. He turned to me. I didn't move. He stepped forward slowly, like he was waiting for a reason to stop. I didn't give him one. His hand touched my wrist first, light, unsure. Then he stepped closer. My back found the wall behind me. His finger traced lightly at my arm. I didn't flinch. He said nothing. Neither did I. His hand moved to my waist. I could feel the heat of him through my shirt. His forehead rested against mine. We stood there breathing the same air. The space between us dissolved. His lips brushed mine, soft at first, then deeper. I kissed him back. I pulled him toward me. My fingers hooked under the hem of his shirt. He didn't resist. I felt his weight, not just his body, but the decision, the risk, the guilt. And I still didn't stop. I welcomed it like I'd been holding my breath for weeks and could finally exhale. He backed me toward the bed. I sat down. He knelt in front of me. His hands gripped my thighs. My knees parted. My chest rose sharply. I felt like I was falling and being caught all at once. Every part of me whispered that it was wrong. And every part of me whispered, "Don't stop." His mouth moved along my neck, down my shoulder, grazing the edge of my collar. My fingers were tangled in his hair. I could feel my heartbeat pulsing in my throat. I bit my lip to stay quiet. People were asleep in this house, my children down the hall, my husband upstairs. He lifted my shirt. I raised my arms. He took his time. His eyes met mine as he pulled it off. I didn't hide. I didn't cover myself. I wanted him to see me. I wanted to be seen. He kissed the skin over my ribs. My back arched toward him. When he pressed me into the mattress, I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I let him move how he needed to. I let myself want it. I felt everything, his body's weight, the rhythm of his breath, the heat of his hands, and the guilt curling deep in my stomach. We didn't speak. There were only breaths and skin and silence. His mouth at my ear, my nails on his back, the bed sheets twisted beneath us. My body burned with every movement, and I still said nothing, because nothing needed to be said. Afterward, we lay still, my head on his chest, his hand resting at my hip. I stared at the ceiling, trying to memorize the shadows. My arms were numb. I couldn't feel where I ended and he began. I didn't want to. He pulled away first, sat up, didn't look at me. I turned my face to the wall. I heard him pick up his shirt. Then the door opened and closed gently, just like before. I stayed there on my side, bare, unmoving. I didn't cover myself. I just lay there, knowing I had finally gone too far and not regretting it.
Not yet.
Not enough. The towels were warm from the dryer. I folded the same one 3 times without realizing it. I sat cross-legged on the floor, back against the cabinet, trying not to cry. The house was quiet. My husband had taken the kids to the park. I'd told him I needed to catch up on chores. I was still sore in places no one else could see. Still raw in a way that made walking feel strange. My skin remembered everything. Where he touched, where I trembled, where I let it all happen again and again. And even alone, I couldn't get my body to forget. I opened the dryer, reached in, pulled out a shirt that wasn't ours.
His.
He must have left it last week. I stared at it for too long, pressed it to my face for just a second, then threw it into the corner like it burned. I didn't plan on seeing him again, but I knew I would. Not because we arranged anything, but because that's how these things go. You fall once, then pretend to resist, but your feet keep walking toward the same fire. Mine already knew the way. That night I made dinner. I smiled at my husband. I listened to the kids talk about the slide. I passed the salt. I laughed at a joke I didn't hear. I cleared the dishes and stood at the sink until the water ran cold. And still, I couldn't stop thinking about him. I stood in the hallway before bed, staring at the closed guest room door. I couldn't open it. I couldn't walk past it without feeling it all again. The heat, the weight, the way I hadn't said no. I pressed my forehead to the wall and breathed through the shame. He texted once. Just one sentence.
Kyle, I'm not sorry.
I didn't reply, but my hand hovered over the screen for a long time. I wanted to type me neither. I wanted to scream. I wanted to delete it, but I didn't do anything. I just let it sit there, glowing quietly in the dark. The next morning, I saw him at the end of the driveway. He wasn't walking toward me, just standing by his truck. We locked eyes. My stomach dropped. My fists clenched. He didn't move. Neither did I. We stayed like that until my husband opened the front door and broke the spell. Later that afternoon, I opened the door to the garage and stood in the middle of it, staring at nothing. I wanted to tell someone. But who? Who do you call when you've become the kind of woman you used to judge? The kind who lets someone close the door and doesn't stop them? I folded another towel, then another. I pressed them flat, lined them up neatly, as if that could make me feel less unraveled. It didn't. I couldn't make it neat. I couldn't clean this out of me. I was already split open, and nothing in this house could stitch me back together. I don't know if I want to stop, or if I just want to stop hating myself for not. The table was set like any other night. Forks on the left. Napkins folded. I lit a candle just to fill the silence. My husband sat across from me, scrolling through his phone between bites. The kids had already eaten and were upstairs watching a movie. It was just us. Just the quiet. He took a sip of water, set the glass down, then looked at me longer than usual. Did something happen between you and Kyle? My heart stopped. I blinked. What? I said, too fast, too sharp. He didn't repeat the question. Just kept watching me. I felt the blood drain from my face. My fingers gripped the edge of the table under the cloth. I tried to laugh. It came out all wrong. He's just been around a lot lately, he said. You don't talk to him when I'm in the room anymore. I said nothing.
My mouth had gone dry.
I reached for my glass and missed it slightly. He didn't press. He just looked down at his plate, cut another bite, and chewed. But the question stayed there, tight and loud, and waiting. I excused myself to the kitchen. I stared at the sink full of clean dishes, unable to remember what I'd cooked. My body didn't feel like mine anymore. It belonged to the memory, to the silence, to everything I had let happen without once saying stop. Later that night, I stood at the bedroom window. Kyle's truck was parked across the street. Not close, but close enough. The engine was off. The headlights dark. I could see the shape of him in the driver's seat. He wasn't there for a reason.
He was just there.
I stood in the dark watching him. I don't know if he saw me. I don't know if I wanted him to. Part of me wanted to run outside, slam my fists into his chest, and ask what the hell we'd done. The other part wanted to go back to that guest room and do it again. My husband was in the shower. I could hear the water running. I sat on the edge of the bed, towel in hand, still damp from laundry. I pressed it to my face like I could smother the feeling. Like if I held still enough, it would go away. When the water shut off, I moved to the dresser. I saw my reflection in the mirror. Just a woman brushing her hair. Nothing dramatic. No scars. No signs. But I saw it in my eyes. I didn't look away. The next morning, Kyle didn't come by. His truck didn't appear. I told myself that was good. That it was over. That the fire would fade with distance. But every time the doorbell rang, my stomach flipped. Every knock felt like it might be him. At the grocery store, I turned a corner and nearly collided with his wife. She smiled, asked about the kids, said we should do dinner soon. I smiled back. That would be great. My chest burned the entire time. My hands gripped the shopping cart like it was the only thing holding me up. I left early. Took the long way home. Sat in the driveway for 10 minutes before I could go inside. His words were still echoing. I'm not sorry. And the worst part? I wasn't either. Not entirely. And that truth was the one I didn't know how to live with. I'd carried guilt before, but not like this. Not when it tasted like comfort. Not when it made me feel more alive than I had in years. Not when I wanted it again the second it ended. Not when I couldn't tell where the betrayal stopped and the craving began.